Welcome to Know Your GHRC member talk show, where we spotlight inspiring members of the global HR community and dive into their journey, insights, and impact. Today, we are delighted to be joined by Jahnavi Kamath, Client Relationship Director at Steps Drama Learning Development. Jahnavi works closely with organizations across the globe, partnering with the teams and leaders to drive meaningful behavioral change. Steps Drama Learning Development is a global leader in experiential drama based workplace learning operating across the US, UK, and India. Through innovative and award winning programs, Steps Drama helps organizations inspire people to act differently across leadership, diversity inclusion, customer service, excellence, engagement, personal impact, and compliance. We are very much excited to explore your journey and insights on behavioral change and learning that truly makes an impact. Welcome to the show, Janvi.
Thank you. Thank you, Ritika, and thank you for the lovely introduction of myself and Steps as well. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Sure. Janvi, before we dive deeper, we would love to hear your story, your journey so far.
Sure. My background, where I began my career journey, was in the field of drama and acting. I started off as an actor. I used to do a lot of theater in Bangalore, especially. I've also done movies. I've dabbled in television. I've done a few ads. All of this before, of course, all before 2014 as such. So my background as such began with drama itself. But I have always been very interested in understanding how people learn, in understanding what makes people want to be better and want to change. That's something because I find people and psychology very curious. I also have a psychology background. So, that was also something that really inspired me. So, when steps happened, and my background in drama kind of supported it. It was a good blend for me. I've been lucky that way to get an opportunity where both could come together and work it out. Yeah.
That's very much interesting. So, let me start with the first question. Understanding organizational behavior requires noticing cultural pattern, leadership signal, and how people relate to each other daily. Behavioral change specializes often start by decoding energy, communication flow, and unspoken norms. So, when you begin working with a new client, what aspects of their culture or people dynamics do you focus on first to understand their behavioral change needs?
I think for us at Steps, what becomes very crucial is to understand the lived experience within that organization, right? So one of the first things we do is we listen out, we do a diagnosis in the beginning to understand what are some of the challenges that are coming up. And when we hear about issues, we hear about stories, it's not just isolated issues. We look at what is a behavioral pattern that this is telling us right across, right? Right across the organization. What are the behavioral patterns we are noticing, right? We also try and focus on communication flow, the sense of psychological safety people might be feeling in that organization. And very importantly, the leadership signals. How are people perceiving leadership? How is leadership coming across in terms of how they assimilate the culture of the organization? All of this becomes very important. So we also identify manager capabilities. We try and in our diagnostic conversations we have confidential conversations with not only the organizing team. Of course, the guidance comes from the organizing team, the HR, the L&D departments, the DNI teams, whoever it is that we are working with. But the we do a cross section of confidential discussions with people who have lived experience on the floor, on the ground. And that tells us about certain unspoken norms. Are there certain unspoken norms? What are people perceiving the culture as? How comfortable are people saying what they have in mind? How comfortable are people showing up as themselves, right? So that also helps us in understanding manager capabilities, leadership behavior, as I said. But also, what are patterns arising out of this conversation? So, using some of this early impressions that we get from these diagnostic conversations, We kind of build some hypotheses, we validate that with the organizing team that has, who initially came to us with the a problem they'd like to solve. And then we also have our desk research, that helps us through really consolidate what it is that the organization wants. Where is the organization right now in their change journey, in their behavior change journey? And what are the kind of interventions that might be needed for them to see the success that they want to see? In fact, one of the first questions we ask to our clients when we start is, what does success look like for you? Right? And that tangible answers is where what becomes our starting point to actually have that conversation, and begin that conversation, and then do the analytics and the consultation that we need to go forward from there to achieve those objectives.
That's the decoding has been done very much thoughtfully, in a very step-by-step manner. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yes.
So, drama-led learning attracts facilitators who value emotional intelligence, narrative, and immersive discovery. So, professionals in this field often describe it as a perfect blend of human connection and practical transformation. What inspired your journey into drama-based behavioral development, and how has this methodology influenced your growth as a learning professional?
As I said, in the beginning when we began that, I have a background in drama itself. And as I also said, I've always been inspired about understanding how uh, behavior change happens. Why do people want to change? Even if you look at in your personal lives, if you look at your closest relationships, right? You wonder, this is something I'm asking of this other person, but what is it that really will inspire that person to change? What will really inspire that person to see my perspective, right? And to understand that for this one problem that two of us might be facing, there could be multiple of myriad of solutions. And what is it that we can work together to see each other's point of view, right? So what really kind of inspired me in this kind of drama based behavioral techniques, if I can say that, is one thing it did very differently is it did not instruct, right? When steps is delivering its session, we tell that it is not prescriptive, it's not instructional. So I will not stand here in front of you and tell, you know what, Ritika, you should do this differently, Ritika, that should happen differently, because that doesn't become a two-way interactive process. We inspire people to change through their experience, through bringing their experience out on the floor, and drama can do that very effectively. Versus me telling someone that this needs to change, if I show someone their reality, their lived experience in the form of a drama, of course fictionalized, no real story to be used, but slightly fictionalized, but we show them a slice of their own life playing out in front of them, their own experience playing out in front of them, their impact, the impact they might have felt or the impact they might have had on others. It becomes, there's an immediate buy-in, there's an immediate, oh my God, that was me. you know um, we have moments in sessions where people actually say, when you played that drama out, I could see myself saying that. And sometimes leaders have like, have you experienced me like this? So that level of personalization actually, and the visceralness of, the nature of drama was quite inspirational for me to begin with. And as you rightly said, something like this is a combination of emotional intelligence. It's genuine human connections. It's peer-to-peer connections. It's validating people's real lived experiences and their stories, and that is what inspires practical transformation, right? So when I know I have experienced this, I feel the need to want to do something differently now, because it's no more someone telling me, it's my lived experience. And I think that's where drama brings out emotions, drama brings out people dynamics, and drama brings out a bit of humor and engagement as well from that perspective. But it is like, some movies that inspire us. It's very similar when something happens that is real to you, that inspires you to want to change. And then people are actually open to say, okay, what do I then need to change? If this is where I am at currently, what is the practical steps I need to apply to change? Right. And that's what we then explore in the rest of our program. That's why I feel drama based methodology can really get people hooked on very easily. As compared to, of course, other techniques have other strengths as well, but this is, I think, the specialty of what interactive drama especially can bring in.
This definitely is very interesting part and a unique approach towards understanding. Yeah, it's just out of curiosity. I want to understand how do you convey this to the organizations? So it'll be in a practical format or in a visual, just in a digital manner.
We do both. We have in-person programs as well, very much classroom setups. And sometimes for scalability, we also have digital solutions. We have media-led solutions. We have, micro learning solutions using drama again in a media format or a digital format, where we can also simulate the interaction and all of that. So while a large part of our work is in person, it is also virtual, like the kind of session, the conversation we're having right now. We can have a similar conversation in a virtual led training room as well.
Okay.
And for scalability, there is also the media options, as I mentioned, which is like video based, quick to grasp kind of nuggets of videos that can be played out. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. So, experiential drama brings learning to life by allowing participants to see themselves in real scenarios, which you mentioned right now. So, research shows that when people experience behavior rather than just hear it, so change becomes more sustainable. How does STEPS drama immerse scenario-based approach help participants internalize behavior more often than traditional training format?
Yeah.
Half of it is kind of answered.
Yes, yes. If I can just add a couple of points to that, I think it's research-based really works. Our research-based approach really helps us make those scenarios also relatable to their own lives, right? So as I'd kind of mentioned that. And when people see and feel the real dynamics, it also builds a long-term recall, right? So what I would have seen in a PPT or what someone would have said versus something I've seen and experienced and felt in a classroom. So that also kind of helps internalize it quite a lot. What I can also come in here with is what happens after someone sees it and experiences it, right? What really helps them internalize it and want to change behavior in this experiential format. So steps has this, we have something called a steps to change philosophy. We believe that any kind of behavior change, if it has to be sustainable and if it has to happen, has to go through four stages. One is the seed, which we have already spoken about, and the way drama can hold up that mirror to your own behaviors. We, through our interactive formats and different drama based methodologies that we use, and also non drama based, there are also activity based and other stuff that we use. We really, the second stage for us is that is important is for people in the interactions to own those behaviors. So see it, own it, change it, live it is the steps to change framework. The see it is the drama. The own it is, where have I got involved myself in moments like this? Where have I observed moments like this? What have I done that has impacted, right? So people really own that these behaviors do exist inside us and around us, right? So we get people to own behaviors, and through our other formats, we also get people to change it. So participants get to pause, they get to reflect, then they get to redirect. So if in the drama I have seen someone being disrespectful, I as a participant can say, you know what, I think you should say this particular thing differently. I think you should provide this particular feedback. You know, you were very harsh on the person when you said, no, that doesn't work, give me a better idea. Instead, could you have appreciated the person for the idea and says, you know what, I'm thinking more in terms of how do we make it how do we make it relevant to our team, right? So can you think more about that? So you see, there are two very different approaches. So they get to test different behaviors in a safe environment, right? So that is where the change it bit of it kind of comes. People get to see what behaviors can I change, what are the different techniques I can try and apply that can make some of my difficult conversations slightly more easier, right? What are the techniques I can build? So that comes into the change it bit of it, where participants realize that there are changes that they can do to really see the difference in the environment that we work in. And then finally comes the live it. Live it as such cannot happen in one session, but it is a sustained partnership that we get into clients with, where, as I said, the media led, the digital, the scalability, the what is already existing within the client's organization that we can leverage on, right? Like there could be multiple intranet, there could be internal processes that are there, and how can we come in and support that so people get to not just see that in the session, but and experience insight from the group, or from the group and all of that, but they also get to have moments in their day-to-day living. To give you examples, like in either in their town halls, their leadership meetings, their team meetings, their gatherings, outings, where can we come in so that people get to reinforce these right behaviors so that they can live it on a day-to-day basis, and what are those tips and techniques. So that's something that helps internalize behavior, as you mentioned earlier, through this experiential approach.
That's a very powerful explanation of why experiential drama creates deeper and more lasting behavior impact.
Yes.
So, the next question is global behavioral firms succeed through a strong core methodology adapted with culture sensitivity. India's workplace nuisance often require a different lens for facilitation and content design. So, how does STEPS drama ensure global consistency in its program while customizing behavioral intervention for the Indian context?
Yeah. So I think, as you know, Ritika, STEPS is a global organization. Uh, and we have our head offices in the US, in the UK, and in India, and we have our presence of associates and people who deliver across APAC, across EMEA, and all the UK, Europe. We have even staff presence in the Europe as well, some parts of continental Europe. And of course, we have some presence in the Middle East as well. So that way, it's truly a global organization with these three hubs in US, UK, and India. We have I would say our methodology is centralized, right? So we have a consistent global methodology, but we know if we have to be successful, there have to be the methodology has to adapt to the cultural nuance of each place. So what we do is we have localized facilitators in all of these regions. We have region specific research. If you remember, I did mention about research that we do extensive research in the beginning. So whether it be a global job, whether it be a region job, we ensure that the questions are tailored, and the person from the who understands the local nuance conducts that diagnostic, right? So there's region specific research, because then that can build the relevance for that particular region, right? So I think it's a balance of global standards plus local resonance, if I can call that, right? So these are some of the things that we do. We also have local language capabilities. We understand that there are some parts of continental Europe that prefer to have the regional, the local language as their core format. So because we have our actors and facilitators from those regions, they can even localize some of these training programs into the language and the stories and everything that people there could, kind of resonate with. So that's some of the things that we do. So while the methodology is very global, we have adapted it to each region. And if I can even give you an example, in India, we've also adapted, because India is a very multilingual place. So sometimes when we're delivering programs for plants, let's say manufacturing setups, we have a centralized program, maybe that's built in English or Hindi, but we also have delivered it in Tamil, we've delivered it in Gujarati, we've delivered it in Odia. So based on where it really is about what the participants wants and what the participant can most absorb, and that is our effort to make it quite local as that, in the sense that we deliver it.
That definitely provides a clarity on how consistency and relevance work together in your programs. So the next question is, organization today prioritizes behavior capabilities that strengthen trust, inclusion, and leadership depth. So demand often shift based on market pressure, talent needs, and cultural expectations. Among D&I, leadership, customer experience, and change, which behavioral area is seeing the highest demand right now, and what's driving the shift?
Yeah. Um, I would say that I think one thing in today's times, I think one thing that's constant is the coming of AI into this world, right? That has created a lot of upheaval in many ways, in good ways as well. But it has made people want to change their approach as well, right? We cannot always be comfortable with what we've been comfortable with. So change management as such, especially for leadership or managers, tends to be one very important area, because it is not any time about the change itself. It is about human response to the change, and that's where people feel there is a need for leaders, managers, and of course the people who are experiencing change to really bring a shift in their approach to the change. So change is one, I would say. Leadership capabilities in this world, it is very important for leaders. I mean, leaders really have to be superhumans, right? They have to manage the work, they have to be responsible for clients, they have to be responsible for their people, and manage this change and understand what's new in the market. So leadership capability, whether it be on managing performance, managing hybrid teams, managing people's well-being, inclusion, belonging, culture, maintaining the culture of the organization. Large this also forms a large part of the work that we do, which is leadership capability in the different forms that I mentioned. Also driven by hybrid work pressures and retention challenges and shifting expectations of what psychological safety means. There is a lot around resilience and well-being, that comes into the workplace, as we have seen it. A lot of our people actually ask for that, irrespective of the industry. Customer experience, as I have seen in the BFSI sectors, in capability centers, and those kind of areas, customer centric approach has also, like customer experience, customer service is another area where we deliver kind of large scale work in. When it becomes, how do I elevate my customer experience just from it being transactional to it being sort of transformational and value adding. So that's where customer experience also, we've seen in some sectors, has also taken a hike in terms of the need, uptake in terms of the need. Yes.
Okay, that's insightful perspective though. So the next question is, remote first learning organization often experience higher creativity, autonomy, and cross geography collaboration. Flexible structure helps attract talent while promoting outcome focused work. So with Steps Drama operating as a work from anywhere organization, how has this flexible model strengthened collaboration, creativity, and delivery excellence?
Yeah. I think in COVID made us adapt to the, sort of a work from anywhere sort of a setup. And in the last 5 years, we've not seen a need to move to an in-person setup. One is the nature of our industry, our business. Yes, that does play a role. But what it has also done for us in the last 4 5 years, which we have seen as strengths, is we have access to global talent, because we have work from anywhere. Because of which we get very diverse perspectives on the same problem, right? So that has happened. It has also allowed us for strong digital collaboration. Because of digital collaboration, we can build consistency across our different regions. And because of that, there's delivery excellence. So for example, if I am delivering for a client a global program on, let's say, inclusive leadership, right? I have local insight, I have a global insight, and because of all of this, we can really have a consistent program across, while we'll have regional nuances. There's a strong sense of collaboration and working together because of the digitalness and this dynamic of work from anywhere, right? So I no more have to depend on my person here to travel to that place to deliver, right? So we have a large pool of diverse perspectives from that excellence, and we can always stay connected because of this. This has really enabled our multinational clients operate very well, and it has also enabled them to use Steps for global programs, because it kind of eases their operational delivery in terms of their training programs, right? There are local teams, there are local points of contact, so it becomes much more easy for multinationals who work across the globe. And one of the things on a people side, Steps is a very people focused culture. And one thing we have noticed it has done is because people in are in their environments that they're comfortable with, it has boosted a lot of their well-being. They have been able to find a balance between their personal professional needs. People have been able to kind of build creativity, but at any time I can call my counterpart in, let's say, Italy, and then speak about something that I'm facing as a challenge here. And the flexibility has gained more accountability within the teams as well. So people feel more accountable for the tasks that they have, that they have, or their roles that they are operating on, because there's a lot of flexibility in this work from anywhere structure, just like you mentioned. So I think this has been strength for Steps internally and internal culture. And it has also helped us with being unified in the client work that we do globally, right? So that's what I would say. And of course, we do have our regional meets, we do have our global meets where everyone comes together and shares ideas and experiences, and we have, our learning experiences as well during that time. So that is a bit of fun that we get to have once or twice a year as well.
That's a very wonderful reflection on how flexibility and autonomy strengthen. So I'm done with my question. Is there anything that you would want to share to the GHRC members?
Yes. I think if for all members out there, I think if lasting behavior change, if experiential format when it comes to delivering your learning and development programs is of interest to you, and that's something you could explore, you can always reach out to our website, which is stepsdrama.com. I am a part of the GHRC community, so you can always reach out to me through the community to understand and explore what more we reflect upon, and what we do in the work that we deliver. But thank you, Ritika. I think it's been a fun conversation, and thank you for inviting me here and having all these questions and exploring the possibilities, that a methodology like this can bring to the community.
Thank you so much, Janvi, for giving your time and sharing your journey and your insights. That I'm done from my end.
Yes, thank you, and wishing everyone, in fact, a happy and successful 2026.
Very happy New Year.